You decided to come to my performance. How sweet of you. I am truly flattered.
I should have known something was wrong when Fiona started humming while scrolling through her phone at 2 in the morning. Happy people don't hum at 2 a.m. They sleep. Scheming people hum. "Babe," she said, not looking up from the screen's blue glow. "I've been thinking about the wedding guest list." I grunted from my side of the bed, half asleep, dreaming about the 1967 Mustang waiting in my garage. That car made sense. Chrome, steel, horsepower, honest things. "I want to invite all my exes." That woke me up. I propped myself on one elbow, squinting at her in the darkness. "Come again?" "My exes. All of them." She finally looked at me, her green eyes bright with something I couldn't quite identify. Excitement? Challenge? "It's very modern, Lex, very mature. Shows we're secure in our relationship." "Secure?" I repeated flatly. "Right. Nothing says secure like parading your romantic history down the aisle." She laughed. That tinkling sound that used to make my chest warm, but now just made me suspicious. "Don't be such a caveman. They're part of my life story. Our wedding should celebrate everything that brought us together, including the relationships that didn't work out." I stared at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the plaster. 7. 7 cracks, 7 red flags I was apparently ignoring. "How many are we talking about?" "Just 3. Danny, Marcus, and Todd." "Marcus?" I sat up fully now. "The guy who cheated on you with your college roommate? Water under the bridge?" "And Danny? Your high school sweetheart who you cried about for 6 months after he dumped you?" "That was years ago, Lex. God, you're being so insecure right now." She rolled away from me, pulling the comforter with her. "I thought you'd be more evolved than this." Evolved. That was Fiona's favorite word lately. She'd been spending a lot of time at Kendra's yoga studio, coming home smelling like sandalwood and spouting phrases about conscious uncoupling and honoring your journey. I owned a car restoration shop. I fixed things that were broken and made them beautiful again. Evolution, in my world, meant better carburetors. "Fine," I said, because arguing with Fiona at 2 a.m. was like wrestling smoke. "Invite whoever you want." She rolled back over, kissed my cheek. "You're the best. This is going to be such an amazing wedding. Everyone's going to be so jealous." That should have been my first clue. Fiona didn't want a wedding. She wanted an audience. The next month crawled by in a blur of cake tastings, flower arrangements, and increasingly bizarre decisions. Fiona chose a venue 2 hours away because it had the right energy. She hired a wedding planner named Julian who spoke exclusively in italics and wore more jewelry than she did. She spent $1,400 on shoes no one would see under her dress, and she bought a dress that made my jaw drop for all the wrong reasons. "What do you think?" She twirled in front of the mirror at the bridal shop, and I tried to find words that wouldn't start World War III. The dress was white, barely. It was also short, tight, and cut low enough to show the tattoo she'd gotten in Cancun last year. The one I'd told her was a bad idea, the one that said "fearless" in script across her left chest. "It's short," I managed. "It's fashion forward," Julian corrected, appearing beside me like a perfumed ghost. "Fiona has the legs for it. Why hide them under yards of tulle? Because it's a wedding, not a nightclub." Fiona's smile went sharp. "You sound like my father. I thought you were different, Lex." There it was again, that implication that any objection made me prehistoric. I looked at her in that dress, her blonde hair cascading over bare shoulders, her eyes daring me to complain, and I felt something shift in my chest. Not love, something colder. "You look beautiful," I lied. "Absolutely stunning," she beamed. "I knew you'd come around." My best friend, Marco, stopped by the shop 3 days before the wedding. He found me elbow deep in the Mustang's engine, trying to diagnose a timing issue that shouldn't exist. "You look like hell," he said, settling onto a rolling stool with a beer from my mini fridge. "Wedding stress. Bull. I've known you since high school. This is your something's wrong, but I'm pretending it's fine face." Marco had been a cop for 10 years before a knee injury pushed him into private investigation. He could read people like I read engine codes. I wiped my hands on a rag, considering. "Fiona invited her exes to the wedding." Marco choked on his beer. "She what?" "All 3 of them. Says it's mature." "That's not mature. That's a power play." He leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Let me guess. She's been spending time with Kendra." "How'd you know?" "Because Kendra's been poisoned since you dumped her sophomore year. She never got over it, Lex, and now she's best friends with your fiancé. That's not coincidence. I'd forgotten about that. Kendra and I had dated for maybe 2 months in college. She'd wanted something serious. I'd wanted to focus on building my business. We'd parted ways, or so I thought. Then 6 months ago, she'd appeared at one of Fiona's work events, and suddenly, they were inseparable. You think Kendra's manipulating Fiona? I think Kendra's been waiting a long time to make you hurt. Marco stood, grabbed another beer. Want me to do some digging? See what these exes have been up to? It's probably nothing. Probably. He headed for the door, then paused. But if it's not nothing, you'll want to know before you say I do. He left me alone with the Mustang and my thoughts. Both needed more work than I had time for. The wedding day arrived with cloudless skies and temperatures in the high 80s. Perfect weather for a disaster. I stood at the altar in my rented tux, sweating through my shirt, watching guests file into the outdoor venue. Fiona's parents sat in the front row, her mother dripping in diamonds, her father checking his phone. My parents had driven up from Florida, looking uncomfortable among the architectural crowd Fiona worked with. Then I saw them. The exes. Danny Sharp arrived first, and I had to admit the guy looked good. Tailored suit, expensive watch, hair styled like he'd just stepped out of a cologne commercial. He'd made a fortune in hedge funds, according to Fiona, and drove a Tesla that probably cost more than my shop. Marcus came next. Tall, athletic, the kind of guy who looked like he played lacrosse in college, because he had. He hugged Fiona's mother like family. Todd was last, quieter, but his eyes tracked Fiona's bridesmaids with predatory focus. They all sat together, 3 rows back, close enough to matter. The ceremony itself passed in a blur. I remember Fiona appearing at the end of the aisle in that dress, looking like sin wrapped in silk. I remember the gasps from the older guests, the appreciative whistles from the younger ones. I remember her father's face going red, her mother's lips pressing into a thin line. I remember Fiona's smile as she walked toward me, triumphant, not joyful. We said our vows. I meant mine. I'm not sure she did. The reception was held in a barn that had been renovated into something between rustic and ridiculous. Exposed beams, strings of Edison bulbs, a bar that served craft cocktails with names like Happily Ever After and Till Death Do Us Part. I should have ordered the second one. Dinner passed without incident. Speeches were made. My brother kept it short and funny. Fiona's maid of honor rambled about their college adventures in a way that made several people uncomfortable. Then the dancing started. I danced with Fiona for our first song, holding her close while a singer butchered "At Last." She felt stiff in my arms, distracted, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Looking for someone?" I asked. "Just making sure everyone's having fun." Then the DJ opened the floor, and I watched my wife, make a beeline for Danny Sharp. They danced to 3 songs. 3. Her hand on his chest, his hand on the small of her back, both of them laughing at private jokes I wasn't part of. I stood at the bar, nursing a whiskey, while Marco appeared at my elbow. "You seeing this?" he muttered. "Hard to miss." "Want me to cut in? And look jealous at my own wedding?" "No, thanks." But then she danced with Marcus, then Todd. Each dance closer, more intimate, more deliberate. Her fingers trailing down arms, her laugh too loud, her body language screaming availability. Mrs. Griggs, our neighbor who'd somehow scored an invitation, appeared beside me with her phone out. "Such a modern bride," she said, snapping photos. "So confident." That's one word for it. The evening deteriorated from there. During the bouquet toss, Fiona accidentally flashed her garter to the group of single men, which included all 3 exes. During cake cutting, she fed Danny a piece while I was in the bathroom. When I came back, she was wiping frosting off his mouth with her thumb. Julian, the wedding planner, sidled up to me during a slow song. "Sweetie," he said quietly, "I've planned 200 weddings, and I've never seen a bride act like this. Whatever's happening, it's not normal." Thanks for the observation. I'm just saying, I've got eyes. And if you need someone to testify to anything later, I remember everything. I filed that away, watching Fiona lean close to whisper something in Danny's ear. He grinned, nodded, and they both headed toward the venue's main building, toward the private suites upstairs. I waited 5 minutes. 10. Marco tried to stop me, but I shook him off and followed the path my wife had taken, climbing the stairs to the 2nd floor where the bridal suite was located. The door was closed, but not locked. I could hear them before I saw them. Her laugh, his low voice, the unmistakable sounds of clothing being removed. I opened the door. Fiona was still in her wedding dress, but it was hiked up around her waist. Danny's jacket was on the floor, his shirt unbuttoned. They were on the couch, tangled together, and for a moment, nobody moved. Then Fiona screamed, "Lex, what the hell?" I stood there frozen, my brain trying to process what my eyes were seeing. My wife of 4 hours, with her ex-boyfriend, still wearing the dress I'd helped pay for. "What the hell?" I repeated slowly. "That's your question? What the hell am I doing here?" Danny scrambled up, buttoning his shirt. "Look, man, this isn't—" "Finish that sentence and I'll finish you." I stepped into the room and Danny backed up. Good. He should be scared. "Get out." "Lex, you're overreacting," Fiona said, smoothing down her dress. "We were just talking." "Talking," with his hand up your dress. "You're being insane right now. You know that? Completely insane." She stood, wobbling slightly. Drunk or caught, I couldn't tell. "This is exactly why I wasn't sure about marrying you. You're so jealous, so possessive." "I'm possessive? I'm possessive because I don't want my wife screwing her ex at our wedding?" Danny grabbed his jacket. "I should go." "Yeah, you should." I picked up his tie from the floor, threw it at him. "At least wear something when you screw my wife. Have some class." He fled. Fiona glared at me, her face flushed, her lipstick smeared. "You just ruined everything." "I ruined—" I stopped, laughed without humor. Yeah, I ruined it. My bad." I left her there and walked downstairs. The reception was still going, music playing, people dancing. Nobody knew yet. Nobody had seen, except Kendra. She stood near the bar, watching me descend, and her smile was small and satisfied. Our eyes met, and in that moment, I understood. Marco had been right. This wasn't about Fiona's exes. This was about revenge. The next morning, I woke up alone in our house. My house, technically, since I'd bought it before we met. Fiona had stayed at the venue's hotel, or maybe at Danny's place. I didn't know and didn't care. My phone had 47 messages. I ignored them all except Marco's. "We need to talk. Come to my office." Marco's office was above a bail bondsman in the sketchy part of town. I climbed the stairs, still wearing yesterday's rumpled tux pants and a t-shirt, and found him at his desk with a laptop and 3 empty coffee cups. "You look worse than I do," I said. "I've been up all night." He turned the laptop toward me. "You need to see this." The screen showed Facebook. Mrs. Griggs had posted a series of photos from the reception with the caption, "Such a modern wedding. The bride certainly knows how to keep all her guests entertained." The photos showed Fiona dancing with Danny, Marcus, and Todd. Her hand on Danny's chest, Marcus's hand on her hip, Todd's eyes on her cleavage. The comments section was a dumpster fire. "It gets worse," Marco said, clicking to another window. "I did some digging on Kendra like you asked." He showed me text messages. He had sources from his cop days who could pull things like this. Messages between Kendra and Fiona, going back 6 months. Kendra: "You should invite Danny to the wedding. Show Lex you're not his property." Fiona: "IDK seems weird." Kendra: "It's empowering. Trust me, men like Lex need to learn they can't control us." More messages. Kendra suggesting the short dress. Kendra encouraging Fiona to flirt. Kendra, always Kendra, whispering poison. "She's been playing Fiona this whole time," Marco said. "Ever since they met." "Because I dumped her in college?" "Because you dumped her, built a successful business, and moved on. Kendra never got over it. She's been waiting for a chance to make you hurt." He closed the laptop. "The question is, what are you going to do about it?" I sat back, thinking. The old Lex would have gotten angry, maybe punched a wall, definitely drunk himself stupid. But the old Lex had just watched his wife betray him at their wedding. The old Lex was dead. "I'm going to ruin them," I said quietly. "All of them." Marco grinned. "Now you're talking. What do you need?" Over the next week, I became a different person. Methodical, patient, calculating. First, I documented everything. Photos of Fiona's wedding expenses, all charged to the joint account I'd foolishly opened. Receipts for hotel rooms she'd booked in the weeks before the wedding. 3 different hotels, 3 different dates, all matching up with Danny's travel schedule. She'd been planning this for weeks. Second, I hired Marco officially. He pulled phone records, tracked movements, interviewed witnesses. Julian, the wedding planner, gave a statement describing Fiona's behavior. The bartender remembered serving her and Danny matching shots before they disappeared. The hotel night manager had seen them entering the suite together. Third, I went to see a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, the best divorce attorney in the city. A woman named Patricia Brennan, who had a reputation for destroying cheating spouses. "This is good," she said, reviewing my evidence. "Really good. We can argue fraud. She married you under false pretenses. We can get the wedding expenses back, probably more." "I want everything," I said. "Every penny she spent, every cent she took, every moment of humiliation she caused." Patricia smiled. "I can work with that." But legal revenge was too slow, too civilized. I needed something more immediate. I started with Danny. Marco had found his address, a luxury condo downtown with a parking garage full of expensive cars. I waited until 2 a.m., then let myself in. No breaking required. Marco had gotten me a keycard from a friendly security guard. Danny's Tesla sat in its designated spot, gleaming under fluorescent lights. I walked around it slowly, admiring the lines. Nice car, expensive. I keyed it. Long, deep scratches down both sides. Then I used a paint marker to write across the hood. Homewrecker. Childish? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. I left a note under his wiper. "Next time, I'll bring a blowtorch. Stay away from what's mine." The next target was harder. Kendra's yoga studio was her livelihood, her pride. I couldn't just vandalize it. That was too obvious, too illegal. So I got creative. I created fake social media accounts and started posting reviews. Went to a private session at Kendra's studio. Turns out it's not yoga she's teaching, if you know what I mean. This place is a front for some weird stuff. Saw married men coming and going at strange hours. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. The rumors spread. Her business started hemorrhaging clients. Then I called the health department and reported suspicious activity and potential code violations. They came for an inspection, found nothing wrong, but the damage was done. More rumors, more suspicion. Kendra's perfect little sanctuary was crumbling. Fiona, meanwhile, had been calling nonstop. I ignored every call, every text, every email, let her wonder, let her panic. Finally, she showed up at the shop. I was working on the Mustang. It had become my therapy when she walked in. Still beautiful, but there were cracks now, dark circles under her eyes. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. She looked human. "Lex, we need to talk." "No, we don't." I didn't look up from the engine. "What you saw at the wedding, it wasn't what you think." Now I looked at her. "Really? So you weren't about to have sex with Danny in your wedding dress?" "It was a mistake. I was drunk. I was overwhelmed. You were planning it." I stood, wiped my hands. "I've seen the hotel receipts, Fiona. I know you've been seeing him for weeks, maybe longer." Her face went pale. "You've been spying on me?" "I've been protecting myself. There's a difference." "Lex, please, I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. You love what I represent. Stability, the nice house, the guy who doesn't ask too many questions." I stepped closer. "But you wanted excitement too. You wanted to feel desired by all your exes. You wanted to prove you could have anyone. That's not... And Kendra helped you justify it. Told you it was empowering, told you I was controlling, turned you into her weapon." Fiona's eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" "Kendra's been using you to get back at me. You were too self-absorbed to notice." I showed her the texts Marco had pulled, watched her face change as she read them. Confusion, then anger, then something like horror. She did, and you fell for it." I took the phone back. "Now get out of my shop. You'll be hearing from my lawyer." She left crying. I went back to the Mustang. The divorce papers were filed the next day. Fiona received them at her office, hand-delivered by a process server Marco knew. According to my sources, she'd locked herself in the bathroom and cried for an hour. Good. But I wasn't done. Not even close. The legal battle moved faster than I expected. Patricia Brennan was a shark, and she smelled blood. We demanded full reimbursement for the wedding, $53,000, including the venue, the dress, the flowers, everything. We demanded compensation for emotional distress. We demanded the house stay in my name. Fiona's lawyer tried to fight it, but the evidence was overwhelming. Photos, receipts, witness statements, phone records. She'd committed cheating on our wedding day. No judge would side with her. Her parents ended up paying most of the settlement to avoid the scandal going fully public. Her mother called me once, screaming about how I was ruining their family's reputation. I hung up and blocked the number. But the legal victory wasn't enough. I wanted more. I found Danny at a bar called the Rusty Nail, a roadside dive where nobody from his usual crowd would see him. He was drinking alone, looking miserable. I sat down next to him. "Remember me?" I asked. He went white. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble." Too late. I ordered a whiskey, took my time with it. You know what the funny thing is? I wasn't even that mad at first. Shocked, yeah. Hurt, obviously, but not mad. Then what changed? I realized you didn't care. None of you did. Not you, not Fiona, not Kendra. You all just took what you wanted and assumed I'd be too weak to do anything about it. Danny shifted on his stool. I'm sorry, okay? Fiona and I, we have history. It just happened. It just happened. Like you just happened to book hotel rooms. Like you just happened to meet up weeks before the wedding. Like you just happened to screw her in her wedding dress. What do you want from me? I finished my whiskey, set the glass down carefully. I want you to understand something. You thought you were taking something from me. But really, you did me a favor. You showed me who Fiona really is, who you really are, who all of you really are. I stood up, dropped cash on the bar. Then I slapped him. Not a punch, just an open-handed slap across the face, hard enough to sting, loud enough that everyone in the bar turned to look. Stay away from what's mine, I said clearly, or next time your car's not the only thing that gets destroyed. I walked out, leaving him sitting there with a red handprint on his cheek and a bar full of witnesses. The court date arrived 3 weeks after the wedding. I represented myself. Patricia had offered to handle everything, but I wanted to face Fiona directly. The courtroom was small, institutional, smelling of old wood and older grudges. Fiona sat with her lawyer, looking tiny and scared. Her parents sat behind her, radiating disapproval. At me, at her, at the whole situation. Kendra wasn't there. She'd been conspicuously absent since the rumors about her studio started spreading. The judge was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She reviewed the evidence Patricia had submitted, then looked at Fiona. Mrs. Dexter, is it true that you engaged in related to sex activity with another man on your wedding day? Fiona's lawyer tried to object, but the judge cut him off. Answer the question. It was a mistake, Fiona whispered. That's not what I asked. Did you or did you not engage in related to sex activity with Daniel Sharp on the day of your wedding to Mr. Dexter? Yes. The judge made a note. And is it true that you used marital funds to book hotel rooms for meetings with Mr. Sharp prior to the wedding? I can explain yes or no. Yes. The judge looked at me. Mr. Dexter, you're requesting full reimbursement of wedding expenses, compensation for emotional distress, and sole ownership of the marital home. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. Any criminal charges you wish to pursue? I thought about it. I could push for fraud, maybe, make her life even more difficult, but I was tired, and I'd already won. No, Your Honor, I just want what's fair. The judge nodded, made more notes. I'm granting Mr. Dexter's requests in full. Mrs. Dexter, you are ordered to reimburse all wedding expenses within 90 days. The house remains Mr. Dexter's sole property. You have 30 days to remove your belongings. Fiona started crying. Her mother gasped. Her father just looked old. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm ordering Mrs. Dexter to pay an additional $20,000 in damages for emotional distress. This court finds her actions to be particularly egregious and calculated. I left the courthouse with everything I'd wanted. Fiona left with nothing. But I still wasn't finished. The final piece came together 3 weeks later. Fiona's architectural firm was hosting a gala at the new Arts Center downtown, a project she'd been working on for 2 years. It was supposed to be her crowning achievement, the thing that would make her a partner. I bought a ticket, cash, fake name, nobody knew I was coming. The Arts Center was beautiful, all glass and steel, modern and cold, exactly Fiona's style. I walked through the crowd in a new suit, anonymous, watching. Fiona was there, playing hostess, trying to pretend her life wasn't falling apart. Kendra was with her, of course she was. They stood together near the stage, whispering, probably plotting their next move. Danny was there too, keeping his distance but watching Fiona with something like longing. The speeches started. Fiona's boss talked about vision and innovation. The mayor talked about community. Then they invited Fiona to the stage. She walked up, smiling, and took the microphone. That's when I made my move. I walked to the front of the crowd, close enough for her to see me. Her smile faltered. The microphone shook in her hand. Actually, I said loudly, before Fiona talks about her vision, I think everyone should know about her other talents. Security started moving toward me, but I was already pulling out my phone, connecting to the Arts Center's projection system. Marco had hacked it earlier, one of his many useful skills. The screen behind Fiona lit up with photos, her dancing with Danny at the wedding, the text messages with Kendra, the hotel receipts. The timeline of her affair laid out in brutal detail. "This is the real Fiona Maddox," I said. "Architect by day, cheater by night. She planned her affair like she plans buildings, carefully, methodically, with no regard for who gets hurt." The crowd gasped. Phones came out. Fiona stood frozen on stage, staring at the screen. "And this," I continued, switching to the messages between Kendra and Fiona, "is her best friend Kendra Lowe, who orchestrated the whole thing as revenge against me. Because I dumped her in college, 10 years ago. Kendra tried to run, but the crowd blocked her. People were taking photos, recording video. This would be online in minutes. Fiona found her voice. "Lex, please, please what? Please stop telling the truth?" I looked at her. This woman I'd loved. This woman who'd destroyed everything. "You wanted everyone to see you, Fiona. You wanted to be the center of attention. Well, congratulations. Everyone's looking now." Danny pushed through the crowd, trying to reach Fiona. I stepped in front of him. "Don't," I said quietly. "You've done enough." He looked at the screen, at the photos of him and Fiona, at the crowd's disgusted faces. Then he looked at me. "Was it worth it?" I asked. "Was she worth it?" He didn't answer, just turned and left, pushing past the cameras and the questions. Security finally reached me, but the damage was done. Fiona was sobbing on stage. Kendra was cornered by angry guests. The Arts Center's director was trying to regain control, but nobody was listening. I let security escort me out. I'd said everything I needed to say. The next morning, the story was everywhere. Local news picked it up first, then social media, then the national outlets. Architect's wedding day affair exposed at career-making event. The photos, the texts, everything I'd shown went viral. Fiona's firm released a statement. "We are disappointed by Miss Maddox's personal choices and are reviewing her position with the company." Translation: she was fired. Kendra's yoga studio closed permanently. The landlord cited reputational damage to the property. Danny's firm issued a statement distancing themselves from his personal indiscretions. He wasn't fired, but his career was stalled. And me? I went back to my shop, back to the Mustang, back to the honest work of fixing things. Marco stopped by with beer and pizza. "You're all over the internet," he said. "They're calling you everything from a hero to a psycho. What do you think?" He considered it. "I think you did what you had to do. Maybe you went a little far at the end, but," he shrugged, "they earned it." Yeah, they did. We ate in comfortable silence, watching the Mustang gleam under the shop lights. It was almost finished now, just a few more adjustments, and it would be perfect. "What are you going to do now?" Marco asked. "Fix cars, live my life, try to forget any of this happened. And if Fiona tries to come back?" I thought about it. Thought about her crying on that stage, her perfect facade shattered, her carefully constructed life in ruins. "She won't," I said. "She's too proud. And even if she does, the answer's no. I'm done being someone's backup plan." Marco raised his beer. "To moving on. To moving on." We drank, and for the first time in months, I felt something like peace. 3 months later, I was finishing up the Mustang when a woman walked into my shop. Mid-30s, professional but not stuffy, with kind eyes and an easy smile. "Are you Lex Dexter?" she asked. "Depends on who's asking." "I'm Rachel. I saw your shop online. You do restoration work?" "That's right." She walked over to the Mustang, ran her hand along the hood. "This is beautiful. My dad had one just like it. He passed away last year, and I inherited his old Camaro. It's been sitting in a garage for 10 years. Think you could bring it back to life?" I looked at her. Really looked. No agenda in her eyes, no hidden motives, just someone who wanted help with a car that meant something to her. "Yeah," I said. "I think I can do that." She smiled, and we talked about her father, his car, the work it would need. Normal conversation, honest conversation. When she left, she shook my hand. "I'll bring the Camaro by next week, and Lex, I'm sorry about what happened with your wedding. I saw it online. For what it's worth, I think you handled it exactly right. Thanks." Some people need to be reminded that actions have consequences. After she left, I stood in my shop, surrounded by tools and chrome and the smell of motor oil, and I realized something. I'd survived. More than that, I'd won. Not because I'd destroyed Fiona and Kendra and Danny, though I had. Not because I'd gotten my money back, though I had. Not because everyone now knew the truth, though they did. I'd won because I'd refused to be a victim. I'd refused to quietly accept betrayal and move on like nothing happened. I'd stood up, fought back, and made damn sure everyone knew exactly what they'd done. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Would I recommend it? That depends on how much you value revenge over peace. But for me, in that moment, with my shop and my cars and my self-respect intact, it had been worth every second. The Mustang was finished the next day. I took it for a drive, windows down, engine roaring, the past disappearing in the rearview mirror. Somewhere in the city, Fiona was picking up the pieces of her shattered life. Kendra was explaining to her family why her business failed. Danny was trying to rebuild his reputation, and I was free.